if your current sales are not working like you want them to. Let's flip the switch and let's try something a little different. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Jennifer Allwood Show. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. As always, I love doing my podcast. Can I just say that? Like, we've got some major changes happening in the month of September that we're going to be rolling out, an invitation to a lot of you to coach with me in a different way. I cannot wait. However, like the one thing that won't change is the podcast. And I love getting to connect with you guys in this way. It's my honor to be able to do that. I love it when you guys share the podcast, whether it's on social media or just, the best way to actually share it is just on a one-on-one type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Because like if my friend Carrie or my friend Adrian, if they send me a podcast episode and they're like, you've got to listen to this. I'm all over that. You know what I'm saying? Or if I get a podcast from a friend, it's just people take it more seriously then. And so, thank you for every one of you who recommends the Jennifer Allwood Show to other people. It's a delight to be here. So thank you. So I want to talk today about two different types of marketing. And the reason I want to talk about this is because in case you have not noticed yet, online business has changed dramatically in the last 24 months. Okay. Can I just say that first of all? In October of 2023 is when I first really started noticing the shift in online business and the shift away from the ease and the prosperity that it was prior to that. Okay. So I will forever say one of the best things that has happened to the online business was COVID. All right. COVID was a crap show for so many reasons, and it was awful in so many ways. And it took lives, and it was just a thief. COVID was a thief. It took, experiences away. I had a kiddo that didn't get to graduate, didn't get to finish his senior year of high school. There was, of course, those are small things compared to people actually losing their lives. So no reason to DM me. Okay. But I just want to say, like, COVID was a thief, right? But there were some good things that we could take out of COVID, because what the enemy intended for evil, God will always figure out some way to use for good. So like we learned in our house that full-time education, sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day, is non-essential. Okay. We learned that. Ava and I did a podcast about this just in the last couple of months of why she graduated school a year early, and, her experience with high school in general. Ari just started the 6th grade center today, but we are holding the idea of her continuing in public education very loosely. Funny little tidbit here. So I have forever said, Lord, please don't make me homeschool. Lord, please don't make me homeschool. Don't ask me to do it. I'm not cut out for that. Please. This year, I finally, in just the last month or so, have changed my tune, to which I'm now saying, Lord, if you ask me to homeschool my daughter, I will. I don't wanna. Okay. Can I just say that? I don't wanna. However, I just think the public education system has just changed so dramatically. And so, we learned that coming out of COVID. So that was a good thing for us to learn. I also know that our business skyrocketed during COVID because people were at home and they wanted online education. So if you're in the online education space and you were, 5, 6 years ago, like those were lucrative times, right? And so, the online space is still lucrative. It's just different. The cost of advertising via Facebook and Instagram ads has gone through the roof. Reach has declined. There's just a lot more people doing some of the same things. Is the market saturated? No, that's bullcrap. But where there used to be this many business coaches, there's now this many, so you've got to figure out ways to make yourself stand out, what makes you different from other people. Your strategy has to be different. So I know for a lot of the people that I coach on a daily basis, sales are down for a lot of businesses in the last 2 years. And, sales, the number of sales, the amount of sales is very dependent upon marketing. And sometimes people get real funky about the idea of marketing. I think that the word is like this umbrella term that a lot of people just don't love. Okay. Funny side note. Did I say sunny side note? I almost said sunny side note, but funny side note. Ava baby starts college tomorrow. And a lot of you have followed me on social media since I was pregnant with that girl, because that's when I started my Facebook and things. To when I was really knee deep in blogging. You can still go find all those blog posts. Was 17, 18 years ago. And so she starts college classes tomorrow and she has a marketing class. And I'm so excited for her. And so I personally remember when I was in college getting my degree that I loved my marketing class. But I think people get real weirded out about, okay, what is actual marketing? How do you get good at it? What if I'm not good at it? What if I haven't had a college class? I just think there's a whole lot there. And so I think that one of the bottom things that you need to understand is that marketing is just telling people that you have a product or a service that can be beneficial to them and you believe that it's good. And here it is. Would you like to buy it? Okay. In its simplest form, this is marketing. All right. So, what I also know is that there are like two main types of marketing. And for some people, if you have really seen business decline, I think that it could be really advantageous to you to maybe look at which type of marketing have you been doing in the past, and is that the way you should continue in the future, especially if things right now aren't going the way that you want it to. Does that make sense? And so in marketing, there are two like big emotional drivers. And I think it's important too that you keep one thought in the back of your head as I'm going through my notes here. Sales are emotional. Most of the time, people are buying not because they know they get 2 calls with me a month and I have a prayer meeting every month and the calls are on Wednesday at noon. Like, that's not what they're buying. Okay. They're buying for an emotional reason. They're signing up for my coaching because they see me living a lifestyle that they would like to. They know that I was somebody in corporate America who got out from those golden handcuffs and is now doing something totally different. They have seen time freedom. They have seen financial freedom. So they're making decisions to sign up for my coaching based on their emotions of either wanting that or not wanting the corporate America life. It's not like they're looking at when I do coaching classes and does that fit in their schedule. Like, sales are emotional. All right. Now, if you say to me, Jen, I sell jewelry, I will say this, even that's emotional. I bought this necklace because I saw someone at the airport. I believe it was in Florida. I'm almost positive. Yes, it was. In fact, I can tell you it's a woman that follows me on social media because she came up to me in the airport. If of all the places to get recognized, by the way, I get recognized more in airports than any place else. It's wild. More than my kids' elementary school, more than going out to eat. Jason and I get recognized more in airports than any place else. On the plane, a lot of times, which is always fun. If you ever see us out in the wild, please say hello, by the way. It always makes my day. I had somebody DM me the other day and she said, I saw you and Jason when you were leaving the hospital. Our daughter Ava was in the hospital for 5 days in July. And if you did not listen to that podcast, you can go back a couple episodes and listen to the one that Jason and I did about how July was just crazy and how sick Ava became. And so, anyhow, she said, you guys were getting on an elevator. I wanted to say hello, but you also really looked like you just needed some privacy. And, it was very emotional having a kiddo in the hospital. And so, but I told her, like, please always feel free to say hi. Please do that. So you're never bothering us, I have always told my kids, because sometimes the kids will be with us when we're out and people, will want a picture or they'll just want to say hello. And I've always told our children, the Bible literally says, to whom much is given, much will be required. And we can't love the lifestyle that this business has provided to us while also at the same time not wanting to be kind to the very people who have given us this lifestyle. Like, so please know you're not bothering. Okay. That was a total side note. All right. So let's get back to marketing. So if your business has been not doing what you want for it to recently, I want you to really look at what type of marketing you have been doing. And then let's look and see if that really makes sense going forward. Okay. So there are two emotional drivers when it comes to marketing, because sales are emotional. People are either taking action to avoid pain or they're taking action to get pleasure. Okay. So it's either like pain avoidance or it's pleasure seeking. Okay. Neither one of these is bad. But both of these just affect your audience, your potential clients, like emotions, buying decisions, and loyalty. So do you lean more towards kind of driving with pain avoidance, or do you lead more with pleasure seeking? I'm going to give you examples of both of these. Are you more a push pull person or a pull person? Do you lead with glasses half empty or the glasses half full? Is it loss aversion or is it like gain motivation? So there's lots of different terms for these two different types of marketing. Okay. It's very much rooted in psychology, especially people that market to like loss aversion, because as humans, we are definitely more motivated to avoid losing, honestly, than what we are to gain something of equal value. It's really fascinating. I can see this often in my coaching groups when I see women making decisions to avoid potential like loss, or they don't launch because they're afraid it's not going to go well, instead of making decisions that are like motivated by pleasure. So many people make decisions so that they avoid discomfort, avoid pain. I was just thinking of an example. It's probably a terrible example. Okay. So, like, just hear my heart. Don't send me nasty DMs, because I'm going to preface this by saying, this is probably a lousy example. Let you all get it. We all know someone who has stayed in a marriage that was awful. Either it was dangerous, there was addiction, there was abuse, there was something. And you're saying to yourself, why do they stay? Because sometimes it's like, it's the devil, It's the fact that at least they know how to deal with that. And it's, I don't want the pain of trying to figure out this, or the pain of going through this to get, unattached from this person, or whatever. So often we make decisions because we want to avoid something that's uncomfortable, or going to be painful. All right. And so today, I just want to talk through marketing in both of these ways. I'm going to give you examples of people that you see doing it both ways so that you kind of know what you've been doing. And then my suggestion for you is, if your current sales are not working like you want them to, let's flip the switch and let's try something a little different for like 90 days even, and just see if people respond to that better. Okay. I want to look at, like, when it comes to the two different types of marketing, like, when does each one work? When doesn't it? When shouldn't you do it? And big names that are using both types of marketing so that you can kind of grasp this. Okay. So the first one is the pain avoidance marketing. And when people are like doing pain avoidance marketing, they're really speaking to the pain that their audience or their potential client wants to escape, the danger they want to avoid, the loss they don't want to experience. And so the main idea is always, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me. Okay. The reason this type of marketing works is because humans are wired at our very like basic, the way God wired us, like for survival. We are wired to survive. This is why when you step to the edge of a cliff, you instantly feel like, I should probably go ahead and back on up, because we're wired to survive. This is why when you do something for the first time, often you'll have like warning bells going off almost in your mind. You'll start to have panic attacks. It'll start to almost sometimes overwhelm us when we're doing something new, because sometimes your brain is unable to tell the difference from like, oh, this is going to kill you, step away from the cliff, or I'm speaking in front of, a group of 20 people for the first time. Does that make sense? So we are wired for survival. Psychologists call this loss aversion. And a lot of times we will do things to avoid losing $100 more than what we will do to actually gain $100. We are more wired to not lose. And so when it comes to your marketing, I want to tell you some people that use this type of marketing, and you're going to recognize all these names. Okay. Dave Ramsey. Okay. Dave Ramsey, who I'm a huge fan of, by the way. Let me just preface that. Dave Ramsey has always been one of the top three people I would most like to have lunch with. I have met Dave Ramsey 3 times. And every single time I just bawl when I'm near him, because the mantle that he carries, the mantle that man carries is just so heavy. Like in a good way, like he just carries so much authority in him. And so, back in the day when Jason and I were broke, we loved like the whole Dave Ramsey plan on how to get out of debt, etc. The message that Dave really leads with is get out of debt before it ruins your life. Like that's his main marketing. Debt's going to ruin your life. That is pain avoidance marketing. Don't take out loans. It's going to ruin your life. Like his financial piece leans heavily on avoiding financial disaster and works obviously very, very well for him, right? Okay. So, and just let me just say this. Dave and I differ on some. I think as a business owner, when you become a business owner and you're not, somebody who's still trying to get out of debt, that Dave Ramsey's theology and framework of doing things works really, really well when you have a lot of debt. It's different for business owners who are out of debt. Let me just say that. Okay. Let's talk about another example, Dr. Phil. How many of you used to love watching Dr. Phil? Back in the day, I did. So a lot of Dr. Phil's content was framed around avoiding like relationship breakdowns. It was avoiding destructive life patterns. It was avoidance marketing. Jillian Michaels, remember Jillian Michaels? She was Biggest Loser, right? So a celebrity trainer who focused on like the pain of obesity, not just the physical pain, but also the mental pain. How obesity could cause illness, how, inactivity could cause illness. So she focused a lot on the pain of obesity. Okay, so those are like three people. Let me give you a company though. LifeLock. You've all heard LifeLock commercials, and all of their commercials are how to avoid having your identity stolen. So the core idea is always like, I don't want that to happen to me. With Dave Ramsey, I don't want financial disaster. Dr. Phil, I don't want like a destructive life pattern. Jillian Michaels, I don't want to have obesity, be the thing that causes me to get ill. LifeLock, I don't want to have my identity stolen. Those are all pain avoidance marketing. Now, here's like how some of you maybe can use it or should use it. All right. So we've all seen like tax service ads warning you about the penalties of filing your taxes late or filing your taxes incorrectly. We've all seen skincare brands who show like before and after sun damage, and then they stress the need for like an SPF. Don't have skin that looks like this. We've all watched insurance commercials highlighting like accidents, disasters, fitness ads talking about avoiding illness or aging badly. You've heard plenty of business coaches like warning about being left behind if you don't adapt to new technology. Like those are all examples of avoidance marketing. We've all seen political campaigns who are like, don't vote for the other guy, because if you do, like this is the disaster that's going to happen. We've all seen politics is just such a shit show anyway. Can I just say that? I mean, I don't know. Ari would say that that's a cuss word. Crap show is a cuss word. To which I would say, I don't know, is it? And then she would say, well, do I get to say it? And then I'd be like, no, so it is a cuss word. You're right. So, but we've all seen political like campaigns that are avoidance marketing. And we've seen plenty of business people out there too. So the tone is often like urgent and it's cautionary. And it's best used, I think, the avoidance marketing when the risk or consequence is time sensitive. It is very real. And your audience trusts you to help them avoid it. I know at different times I've said, look, guys, we have a window of opportunity, especially as female business owners, where people are shopping like crazy in the online space. Like act now before it's too late. Get yourself a business coach so you're not spinning your wheels, wasting your time. Like I've used that type of marketing as well. So I think it's very appropriate when there are very urgent threats, when there are very real risks, like, LifeLock with stolen identities. There's cybersecurity companies warning against, hacking scams. Like those all make sense. When there's time sensitive things like enroll by Friday to avoid paying extra costs. It makes a lot of sense and it's appropriate when your clientele already knows that the pain exists and you're showing them an escape route. You've got the thing that's going to solve that for them. I think that's when this type of marketing works. Here's when it's not appropriate though. Okay. I don't think pain avoidance marketing is appropriate when people are just manufacturing fear where none really exists. They're trying to create urgency by using fear, and there's really no real fear to be had. Okay. When you're trying to like overwhelm or shame your audience and make your clients feel stupid, inadequate, doomed without you, like that's never appropriate. That's just gross. That's disgusting marketing. I would never, suggest you that. I think it's inappropriate when trust is really fragile. Because fear-based messages can make you seem really manipulative. And I think when they're overused, when you constantly see the same marketers online, over and over talking about the same dangers that causes a lot of just like, fatigue and anxiety. It feels like manipulation in the online space. So like proceed with caution. Okay. But sometimes it works really, really well, especially in the healthcare fields and in the financial fields. All right. So the flip side then is like pleasure seeking marketing. This is inspiring people with a vision of like what they want. They want joy. They want success. They want comfort. They want beauty. They want status. More often than not, you will see me using marketing like, hey, if you're somebody that wants time freedom and financial freedom and location freedom, like get into my coaching programs, send me a DM. Like that is pleasure seeking. I'm showing them what's possible. The core idea, on pain, avoidance, the core idea was like, I don't want that to happen to me, right? So on pleasure seeking marketing, you're like, okay, I want this for me. This is exactly what I want. The psychology behind it is that it's pleasure motivation. People are driven to want to experience enjoyment, comfort, success, beauty, status, all of those things. And so let me give you some examples of some people out in the wild that you would know who use this sort of thing. So Joanna Gaines, her marketing is centered around people wanting a cozy, but beautiful home and beautiful home life. The bucket list family. Do you guys follow them on like YouTube, Instagram, or anything? So they're inspiring people to travel the world by showing them what's possible, by showing them all these videos, and their kids are, scuba diving and they're in a different country all the time. And like they're leading with joy and what's possible. Marie Forleo, who, I don't know if Marie's still doing business coaching. I would assume so, but her book is literally called Everything is Figure Outable. Literally, her brand is centered around that idea of everything is figure outable. It's like the possibility driven branding. She really encourages people like, you can figure this out. You can do this. Think about Disney, which by the way, I'm not a fan of. And every time I say that, I feel like I owe my sister-in-law an apology because she literally is a travel agent for them. But, Disney's slogan is it's the happiest place on earth. Jason and I have joked forever. It's the most miserable place on earth. We've only been there once. The kids were small. It was in like the end of July, beginning of August. So just the hottest place on the planet. I have just, it's so weird to me that we own 2 Airbnbs in Florida and that I love Florida as much as I do. I'm actually leaving in the next couple of days to go down with Ava for 4 days. I'm going with girlfriends in 2 weeks, and Jason's going on a golf trip. Like, I love Florida. But here's why I love Florida, because we have 2 houses on the beach that we can go to and that you guys can rent. Florida, when you're not on the beach in July and August, is just miserable. It's like being in the Midwest, in January, February. And so I get it. It's like being in Phoenix in, July and August. It's just so hot. It's just so miserable. But when you are so I used to never be a fan of Florida, is what I'm trying to say, because the only time we would ever go was in the middle of the summer when kids were on summer break from school. And we never could afford to stay on the beach. And isn't God good that now we have, 2 places on the beach that we stay at, you guys can rent. But I just think that that's interesting. I never was a Florida person. And so anyhow, we went to Disney, which is in Florida, in like July, August. It was so hot. It was so bad. So anyhow, we probably do need to just give it a second chance. But they lead with, it's the happiest place on earth. If you think about Airbnb, so both Bougie on the Beach, Bougie on Miramar Beach, they're both on Airbnb, VRBO, and then we, have our management company that also you can rent from. And that's, by the way, if you don't know this, just side note, anytime you can rent directly from the management company versus Airbnb and VRBO, absolutely do that. It will cut out the most fees. Then usually VRBO will be the next one in terms of cost. And then Airbnb is usually always going to be the most expensive. I just side note, as somebody that has owned 3 rentals. So there you go. Okay. But Airbnb really focuses on, they run ads all the time. I see Bougie on the Beach, our first place in Florida, the smaller one. I see that on ads all the time. Actually, it's VRBO's ads. But anyhow, okay, so Airbnb really focuses on like adventure and memories. They're not doing their marketing centered around avoid bad hotels. Does that make sense? So they're focusing on adventure, memories, the pleasure-seeking things. They're giving you vacation ads with crystal clear waters, happy families. You've all seen like luxury brand clothing and handbags. Those campaigns are a lot of times, designed around elegance and prestige and looking and feeling a certain way. Maybe you've taken business courses like even mine, which I'm marketing to you like if you want freedom, if you want revenue, if you want impact, if you want income, like that's most of the time what I'm leading with. Always with pleasure seeking marketing, it's going to be aspirational, inspirational, inspiring, uplifting, exciting. And this is best used when you're trying to paint like a really vivid picture of a better future for your audience. Because again, people are motivated by like desire and hope, and it makes them want to move towards pleasure and reward. So think about using that type of marketing for your small business when it's appropriate. When, like, if you have a product or service that is like travel, lifestyle, home design, self improvement, life coaching, those sort of things. Absolutely always try to do your marketing from this angle. If you're trying to build long-term relationships and loyalty through like a positive brand association, I would always come from the pleasure seeking as well in terms of my marketing. When your audience really needs hope, encourage them towards a better future without like triggering them with a bunch of fear. If you are doing marriage counseling, if you have, or you're trying to get people to sign up for your math tutoring for online classes, like show them what's possible. You've got parents who are so frustrated with their kids' math grades. Like, show them it's possible for your kid not to hate math, for them not to, cry every night when you're making them do math homework. Like, if you can lead with that, I think the majority of the time that is just so much better. And again, some industries it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. If you have client transformations that you share a lot, success stories, that is always geared more towards that pleasure seeking marketing. So there are a couple of times when I think it's not appropriate to use this type of marketing. Like when you have a genuine risk that you would be ignoring, like if you're sugarcoating something, that can definitely backfire on you if your audience feels like you are being really unrealistic. If the promises you're giving people are very unrealistic or exaggerated, that can destroy your credibility. You'll never see me say things like, take my business coaching and you too will be able to buy Airbnbs, like, or you too can, retire or what, like, you're never going to see that because it's very exaggerated. It's a very broad promise, and that does destroy credibility. You will always hear me talking about time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, though, because that is very possible. So if you have an audience, by the way, that's like currently in crisis, you never want to talk about like dream messaging because it feels really tone deaf. Okay. Let me give you an example. The day that Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down in California years ago, it was a Sunday. And we're doing a webinar that evening here at Team Allwood. We had thousands of people signed up for a business webinar where I was going to be pitching my business coaching. So all of the Facebook ads I was doing was basically like, hey, if you want more impact, if you want more income, if you want more whatever, they were all like that, dream a big dream. I believe in you. And the ads were still going that Sunday, even though the webinar started that night. And I can remember people like commenting on my ads, like, I can't believe you're posting about this when Kobe Bryant's helicopter just went down. This is such a tragedy. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I hadn't had the news on. And so, there are times when if our country is in the middle of a crisis, if there's things going on in politics, et cetera, that sometimes that can feel really out of touch and very tone deaf. So just proceed with caution. But I do think that most businesses probably use like a blended approach. They probably do some pain avoidance and they probably don't do some pleasure seeking. I think wisdom is knowing what to do when. And knowing that if one way of you marketing has not been working well, maybe it's time you try just from a little bit of a different angle. I know that there are several like online influencers, names you would know, who really use both, like Tony Robbins, because he talks about like the pain point of stop living beneath your potential. But then he also talks about like step into the life you're meant to live. That's pleasure. So he's using both. When I was looking for other examples, Chalene Johnson, who I love following, she talks about like warning people about burnout and health crashes and things like that, which is pain. But she also shows people like how to reclaim your time and energy, which is like pleasure. Donald Miller from Story Brand, he does a great job of doing both. By the way, his content has changed dramatically, no, dramatically, in the last year or so. Has anybody else noticed that? Okay, just asking. But Story Brand used to be like, here's what's at stake if you do nothing, which was really pain marketing. And then, but then there was also a good amount of like transformation is possible if you just like act, which is pleasure marketing. So, I think that you can use both. Next week, when you guys actually will be listening to this podcast, Team Allwood is doing something called Website in a Week, where we teach people how to make a website, their own website, in just an hour a day for 5 days. Okay. So the pain marketing that we have been using is like, stop wasting time trying to build your website on your own. Like, let us help you. But the pleasure marketing is this, like, get your website done so that you can finally be making money taking orders. See how it's coming from a different angle. And so I'm encouraging you, if you're not seeing a lot of sales, maybe shift the angle. Try marketing from a different way for just a little period of time. You have to ask yourself, will my audience act faster to avoid pain or to gain pleasure in this particular context? Because like pain avoidance works best to like grab attention when your ideal client is in like the early stages of discomfort. Pleasure seeking usually inspires action and like long-term loyalty when people are well aware of the problems that they have. So you can definitely blend them together. Don't stay stuck in the rut that you're in now, which is pain. Imagine waking up every day and being excited to work from home in the business that you've just grown. That's pleasure. And so again, I think there's a lot of people that blend both and do really well. Pain avoidance is going to be about protecting yourself. Pleasure seeking is going to be about really inspiring people. So at the end of the day, I just think it's super important that you're very ethical, you're very honest, you're empathetic, and you're truthful in any sort of marketing that you're doing. That's going to be the most important thing. Be ethical, be honest, be empathetic, be truthful in your marketing. And if you haven't seen the sales recently that you were accustomed to, or that if you feel like your content is just not landing, try talking about some things from a different marketing angle and see if maybe you've been leaning too heavily in one direction. Maybe you've only been leaning into like pain avoidance. Maybe you should lean for a little bit into the pleasure seeking. Maybe you can find a happy balance, but I'm encouraging you just to try something different, because from a psychological standpoint, both work. But if what you've been doing right now is not working in business, then I encourage you to try something different. Okie dokie. All right, friends. Well, I hope that this was helpful today. If you're watching on the YouTubes, do me a favor, leave a comment below. I see all those, I see them all. And let me know my hair looks cute today. Thank you, because I think it does. And if you are listening to this podcast and you don't actually follow The Jennifer Allwood Show, if you'd please hit subscribe. We have a podcast episode that comes out every Monday and Wednesday. I usually try to keep them below 15 minutes because I know sometimes that's all the attention that we actually have. So hopefully this was helpful today. It's my honor to be here with you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.